Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. All right, Erev Tov, everyone. With your permission, I'd like to study Hilchot Deot. Hilchot Deot is a section in the Rambam, part of one of his first book of the Yad HaChazaka, which is Sefer HaMada. And Hilchot Deot, Deot is a fancy word for Middot, for our character traits. And it is one of the most widely studied parts of the Rambam because he has a lot of very relevant information about life in general and how to behave and how to act. And he covers quite a few things in Hilchot Deot. In fact, there are 11 mitzvot in our Torah that are covered in this section. One is Lehidamot bidrachav, which is to emulate Hashem, Leidabek beyod'av, to cling to him, Lehov et ra'im, to love a person, your friends, Lehov et hagerim, to love the converts, Shelo lisno achim, not to hate your brother, Lehochiach, to rebuke, Shelo le'albin panim, not to embarrass, Shelo le'anot amelalim, not to oppress those who are vulnerable, Lo la'aloch rachil, not to be a gossiper, Lo linkom, to take revenge, Lo lintor, to bear a grudge. So all these things are going to be spoken about in Hilchot Deot, and these are common day, everyday things that we are exposed to. And after that, Bezrat Hashem, we'll see, maybe we'll continue with the Hilchot Talmud Torah, Hilchot Teshuvah, other things that made this Yad HaChazaka so famous. So, in the little time that we have today, we'll begin with the first Perek Rishon, where he says the following: Deot harbe yesh lechol echad ve'echad mibnei adam, vezo meshuna mizo urechoka mimena beyoter. Every person on earth has different character traits. And one of the most important lines you will ever read is this one right here: how every person is different, and everyone contains different personalities and different aspects of that personality that contributes to their being. And each one is different. I am different than every single one of you, just like you are different than me. And we are different yet distant in the deot, in the midot that we have. So he gives some examples. Yesh adam shehu ba'al chema ko'es tamid. There is a person who needs serious anger management. He's a person who is always angry. We spoke about this on Shabbat, this past Shabbat. He's always upset, always. V'yesh adam sheda'ato meyushevet alav eno ko'es klal. There's a guy who, for whatever reason, he just never gets upset. And ve'im ka'as, and if he does, yichos ka'as me'at bekama shanim. Once in a few years, you might see him get upset. Yesh adam shu gevah lev beyoter. You have a guy who is very prideful. He's very arrogant. He's gevah lev, literally means his heart is high, which means he's a show-off, yeah. V'yesh shehu shefal ruach ad meod. And there's a person who's extremely lowly, extremely humble. As you see, the Rambam is giving us extremes. V'yesh shehu ba'al ta'ava. There is a person who is very lustful. He chases after his desires. Lo tisba nafsho me'aloch betavata, and his nefesh, his soul. This is not the neshama. The neshama has no desires for physicality, but the nefesh is never satiated, no matter how much of these desires he attains. V'yesh shehu tehor guf beyoter, and there's a person who is so clean in his body, meaning he cares not for any lusts and desires. Lo yitaveh afilu lidvarim me'atim she'aguf tzarich lahem. Even basic things that his body needs, he doesn't want. Yesh Baal Nefesh Rechava. There's a person who is greedy, and Shelot Tisba Nafsho Mikol Mamon HaOlam. He never feels enough with all the money in the world. For him, it's never enough. He's never satiated. Ka'inyan shneimar, like Shlomo HaMelech says in Kohelet, Ohev kesef lo yisba kesef. A person who loves money will not be satisfied with money. Ve'yesh mekatzer, okay, and then there are those who are they don't care whatsoever for possessions. Shedayo afilu davar me'at shelo yisapek lo ve'lo yirdof la'asik kol tzorko. It's enough for him to have the basic, and he's cool with that, and he's not going to chase more. Ve'yeshehu mesagef atzmo bera'av. There's people who fast and afflict themselves with hunger. Ve'kovetz al yado, in order not to spend, they clench their hands. Ve'eno ochel pruta mishelo ela basar gadol. He doesn't even spend $1, and when he does, it brings him a lot of pain. We're talking about the stingy person here. Ve'yeshehu me'abed kol mamono beyado ledato. Then you have the other guy who just spends everything, whatever he doesn't have, he spends. Ve'al derachim elu she'ar kol hadeot. And with these ways, you find with regards to all types of midot. Kegon meholel ve'onen. You have the person who is overly elated, too happy, and onen is a person who's depressed. Kilai ve'shoa, again, someone who is stingy and someone who's overly giving. Achzari, you have a cruel, and you have a rahaman, and merciful. Rach levav ve'amitz lev, someone who is soft-hearted, like almost like a coward, okay, and he just gets stepped over. And amitz lev, a guy who's rash, a person who comes out strong. Ve'kol kayotze bahem. That was halacha aleph. Halacha bet. Ve'yesh ben kol de'a ve'de'a rechoka mimena bakatze ha'acher deot benonit. Zo rechuka mizo. And then, in between each one of these deot, these midot, is somewhere in the middle, which is distant from either end. So if you're in the middle, you are far from this side and you are far from this side. Ve'kol hadeot, and all of these midot, yesh mehen deot, shehen la'adam mitechilat briyato, lefi teva gufo. He says, some of these deot a person is born with. He is born with whatever it is that was given to him at birth. Ve'yesh mehen deot shetiv'o shel adam ze mechuvan ve'atid lekabel otam bimhera yater mishara deot. And then there are deot, there are midot that naturally a person is drawn to more than others. Okay, so some he's born with, and some he just feels connected to more. And again, when we say midot, it could be good midot and it could be bad midot. This works in both ways. Ve'yesh mehen she'enam la'adam mitchilat beriyato. There are those that a person is not born with whatsoever. Ela lamadotam me'acherim. He learns from other people. A person is not born to use foul language or to speak lashon hara, right? That would mean that his parents are cursing at the child, okay, when he's an infant. Okay? We were not born that way. So where do we use our foul language? Where do we use curse words? Where do we use lashon hara? It's because I've learned it from somewhere else. Okay? Or I've heard it from somewhere else. Or I tilted myself towards that idea because I felt that was proper. Or I heard that this is a good midah, and that's how I should continue my life. And he conducts himself until it becomes permanent. So I might grow up to think that my life, that everything belongs to me, as many little kids do think that way. Okay? No, it's mine. I'm not going to share. Leave me alone. This is I got it first. Okay? Or finders keepers. Whatever I find is mine. And then when you grow up, you learn that there's common decency and the mitzvah of Hashavat Avedah, that I have to return objects to the rightful owner. right? And now that I have, I learn about this mitzvah, and I know, wait a second, this belongs to somebody. I'm not necessarily, I'm just going to keep this. That's a wrong midah. So I've learned that this is the proper way to go. So depending on how you were born, and again, related to the first thing that we said today, was that every person is different, and that everyone contains different elements and different personality traits. Some you're born with, some you learn about, okay? And depending on what you have and what you contain is how you determine yourself to act. And as the Rambam is going to explain in the following halachot, okay, he gives us advice how to direct ourselves, given that there are multiple extremes, as we discussed in the first halakha. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will see that tomorrow.